Hi everyone, this is my submission for the Auth0 for AI Agents challenge. And for this challenge, I have built a intelligent expense management system called SmartSpend. This expense management system uses Auth0 for user authentication and Auth0FGA fine grained authorization for authorization purposes. There are a couple of modes to this. The first one is just the demo mode, which I will use to show you what kind of different personas exist in this demo right now. And then we'll look at the full end-to-end experience of user authentication and then expense management flows. So yeah, just to set up a baseline, in this application, a user can come in, file expenses, look at their previous expenses. They can talk to a chat assistant about what expenses are pending. And if it's a manager, they can like approve expenses as well. So they can do a bunch of different things. So for our use case, we have like four different personas. The first is a software engineer who reports to a manager called Raj. And then that manager reports to a VP. And then there is a auditor, Frank. And we will start with submitting an expense from Dina's account, and then we will see how user authentication and FGA comes into picture as we go through this process. All right, so let's go back and sign in with the actual implementation. So this is the Auth0 universal login page, which we use to authenticate the user, and we will just sign in to this application. And now we we'll see all of Dina's expenses that she raised in the past. So there are like three approved expenses and around five pending expenses. And Dina can ask questions like show pending expenses submitted by me. What this will do is this will go make a authorization check against an FGA model and retrieve all the pending expenses like this. So these five expenses are due. So to see where this data is coming from, we have a FGA model here. So this is the model. First, this is the Auth0 tenant where we have all these users. Now we are using this user email as a user ID in our model. So this is the schema. We have a type user, and the type user can have a manager. Then we have a type department where the member is a user, and then we have a type expense. An expense can have like an owner, which is a user, a department, and then it can have like an approver. An approver can be either the user's direct manager or their manager's manager. And then we can also have like a finance auditor from department as a overseer of all the expenses. So this is our model. The representation looks something like this. And then there are some tuples. These tuples are like the different department relations, which expense belongs to which department, which expense has owner of what. Like in this, Dina is the owner of expense 1110, which we just saw is this one, and search for expense 1111. So we will get like Dina is the owner of expense 1111 and expense 1111 belongs to department engineering. So let's say we go back to our application and we add a new expense. Let's just say it's hackathon food, and Dina expense like $30 on hackathon food. So now new expense will be submitted by Dina, and then this expense will also show up in the FGA tuple. So here's the new expense. It is in pending state. And if we go back to our tuples, just refresh this. One, one, two. These two new tuples are now created. So yeah, this is how these expenses will show up. And who can approve these expenses? Dina's manager. So we will sign out and we will sign back in as Raj, who is Dina's manager. And now Raj will see a bunch of expenses, all the expenses that he needs to approve, plus his own submitted expenses. So yeah, these are the ones submitted from Dina that Raj got. So here we can show a bit of a agentic AI use case where Raj can check which expenses need his approval, and then he can just instruct the agent to go and approve a specific expense, and the agent will figure out the authorization, whether does Raj have access to approve that expense, and then go and approve that one using some API calls. It will retrieve all the necessary access tokens and then make the call to make that thing happen. You know what? Let's try something different here. Let's see. No approval permission for this expense. This is an expense submitted by Raj. What will happen if Raj says approve 103? Let's see what the agent does in such a use case where Raj doesn't have authority to approve an expense. It will go make a check against the FGA tuple, and then it will realize that, hey, you do not have permission to approve this expense or it exceeds your limit. Okay, but when Raj does the same for 112L, which he can approve as is shown in the UI here as well, the agent will be able to approve the expense. Expense has been successfully approved. Would you like to see other expenses that need your approval? So yeah, we see this expense 112 has been approved. And let's say for other expenses, we have just a couple of other users like Raj manager Chen can approve Raj's expense in the same way. And then there is also the finance auditor who has viewer access to all the expenses which are in the system, but cannot explicitly approve a single expense because we have defined it in our model that finance auditor can only view. So for this finance auditor, we don't have approval permission. So all these actions are being taken from the logic that we have put in our relationship tuples. So yeah, this is an example of how a end-to-end expense management use case can be built using defined grain authorization. And for user authentication, we have used Auth0. This agent is running on one of the OpenAI models, and this thing is hosted by myself. Thank you. Let me know if you have any other questions.